James,
Raph,
back in the goddamn saddle.
we're in the studio, mate. It's been a long road. A long road of recording remotely over the internet.
Like it's goddamn, there's a pandemic going on. And, let me tell you, maybe there is a pandemic going on.
Exactly. People keep telling me COVID's not finished. They keep telling me, where's your mask?
I was going to say a pandemic of put a big long beep there.
Folks, we're back in the studio. How good's that? We'll see how long that lasts as an arrangement. But we are today talking about a few things.
A few things on the agenda.
But the big one, is what we'll be talking about in our free episode today, is Apple's Worldwide Developer Conference, WWDC.
Now, this is funny because this is kind of like, we're not just going to rattle off like, oh, here's a new feature, although we will probably do some of that.
We'll do a bit of that.
It's kind of like a more like, where's Apple at?
Yep.
Apple AI, like Siri by Google, etc., etc. A bit of an Apple wrap. Then we're going to do a bit of YouTubers are taking Hollywood by storm, folks.
Exactly.
The year is 2009.
Exactly, Matt, folks. YouTube, it's big again. 2 movies are smashing box office right now. But for our free episode, for the proles, the peasants who listen to Down Round without paying a goddamn red cent.
And obviously, like, you don't get banned from the first episode if you buy premium.
Yeah, exactly. Very true. I apologize to anyone that doesn't apply to. We'll be talking about WWDC. Now, so a little bit of context. I think it was two years ago at this very same conference, Worldwide Developer Conference, WWDC, which is where Apple tends to announce their new software, their new operating systems for iPhone and their Mac. They made a few fairly dramatic promises about their big, bold entry into the world of artificial intelligence, AI. I think it's fair to say that virtually none of those promises came to fruition.
No, they were sued for it.
They basically, they promised that, and they did a whole bunch of ad rollout stuff. This was so it was WWDC 2024, which hung off this idea of a new smarter Siri being Apple's voice assistant, that was infused with AI and their custom-built AI models that they had built to make Siri, which is, existed for basically 15 years at this point and has not gotten a whole lot smarter across those 15 years. Now, it could do all sorts of things. Could,
when's my mum's flight arriving? And tell me a good restaurant to book on the way back from the airport.
Yeah, exactly. All this cool, headline AI stuff back when, to be clear, 2024, it was still 2 years into the AI boom. ChatGPT had been out for almost 2 years at that point. None of that worked.
No.
It was one of the biggest L's that Apple's ever taken, where they promised a whole bunch of features that were
They had it on billboards.
They ran ads. They had to pull these ads that promised all this kind of stuff that you could do. They also announced a bundle of other AI features like image editing and whatever. ChatGPT integration. You could run ChatGPT at the operating system level in iOS and Mac. Pretty fair to say that none of that was particularly good. The stuff that did roll out, nobody uses.
Well, yeah, and I integrated ChatGPT into my iOS, but the answers were considerably worse than opening the ChatGPT app itself.
I just literally never used it at any point. Basically, it was a total failure. And for the past basically 2 years, Apple's been saying, sorry about the Siri thing. We're working on it.
Yeah.
Now, in the interim, they came to a deal with Google, which was essentially them putting their hands up and saying, there's stuff in the world of AI that we, Apple Inc., can't do.
Yeah.
But we're partnering with Google to supply that technical know-how with Gemini and Google. Anyway, so this was their big kind of we're back. Sorry about the last 2 years.
Yeah.
Now we're actually rolling out the better Siri. We're rolling out a bunch of AI stuff.
Yeah.
Interesting timing now that we're 4 years into AI being the thing everyone talks about.
Well, yeah, because I think it's worth going back to before WWDC 2024, when AI was the hot topic. Apple famously did, was it a WWDC? They did a big event where they didn't mention AI at all. It might have been WWDC 23.
Yeah.
Where they used the term machine learning a fair bit.
I think that was 23. Yeah.
And they used like generative machine learning. They used like these words that were around it, where obviously they were like, our position is like, we've been doing ML for a long time. We don't need to jump on the AI trend. A year later, they're like, let's go. Like, we need to run at this AI trend.
Exactly.
And we're going to run ahead of our skis. Let's be fair. We're going to ski ahead of our skis.
Yep.
And they reined it in, obviously, because it was a real, let's be honest, like it's the kind of undisciplined, like corporate communication that we rarely see from Apple.
Yeah, totally.
And like corporate strategy, right? Like the strategy is all over the place. Gone from like, we don't really believe in AI, like we're not going to even acknowledge it, to AI actually stands for Apple Intelligence and here's what it can do in 3 months, to fuck.
Yeah.
To, okay, again, like to almost forerun what we're saying, we've partnered with Google to build a new foundational layer of Apple Intelligence.
Yeah.
Which is where we're at.
And at the end of the day, this is just them harnessing all the shit that's been going on with ChatGPT and Claude and all the rest of it in the LLM world and putting it on natively on iPhone so that consumers can do stuff with it.
Yeah.
This is not Apple doing an enterprise play, as many of these companies have been. This is Apple being like, how can you use this technology that no one has shut the fuck up about for 4 years to do basic stuff on your phone nicer and easier?
Yes.
And it's been a 4-year project for them to figure out what the fuck that is.
But I mean, that is kind of an interesting thing. It's like, if you're a foundational LLM company right now, the zeitgeist is, and I mean, we've kind of been saying it for a while, it's like, this shit seems to be very productive for coding. It's very good for coding. And who's going to spend a lot of money on making coding more efficient?
And who,
enterprise.
Who can foot the bill? People who maybe will make an ROI off it.
Exactly. So it's like, looks like right now in the kind of foundational AI space, it's like you're targeting enterprise and coding. On the kind of productization space, which is where, you know, Apple interfaces with customers, with people, with individuals. It's like, how do you do this AI stuff? I think now it's like, sorry to all the Android heads or whatever. This is obviously being integrated into Android all the time. And like one of the key overviews there is that people being like, all these features you've been able to do in Android for a long time. But to be fair, people have been saying that about iPhone versus Android since the beginning.
Exactly.
But regardless, yes, iPhone is shipping seemingly AI features, and I'm sure these will ship.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And we'll talk into like how funny that particular aspect of it has been in the presentation. But there is just another like staging ground thing. We've talked about it on the pod, but you know, Apple basically forced out John Giannandrea, who was their previous head of AI, and they've put in charge of it the guy who's running Siri now is the guy who shipped the Vision Pro.
Vision Pro, yeah.
Which, you know,
whilst externally it didn't sell, internally it was seen as like a great technical accomplishment, which it is.
Which it is. I think everyone agrees that the Vision Pro is a crazy piece of kit to ship.
Yeah.
Just unfortunately nobody wanted
There's
it
no market
or had
for it.
any use for it.
Yeah.
Which, you know, maybe that's foreboding for the AI stuff, but clearly this is a guy who seems like he can pull together a whole bunch of technical disciplines to ship things. There was also a report in Bloomberg a few days ago ahead of this where basically they reported on the fact that there was an emergency meeting at Apple at some point. I can't remember off the top of my head when it was, but it was like kind of recently, like in the past 6 months to a year, where basically they sat down and said, we're now at emergency level. We don't have the structure we've put together, like the executive leadership. We have failed on this.
Yeah, exactly. They were basically the failure comes from the executive level. There's a Mark Gurman article, like one of those like inside the room of the emergency
we
meeting.
missed the thing, which is kind of interesting because, you know, there's this other argument going around that it's like, if it turns out that all this stuff is a bubble, like whether you think it plays out in the long run or not, and there's like a big corporate value collapse at some point over the next however long, Apple's going to look really smart. Because they didn't pump heaps of money into it. They can then go through and pick through the wreckage and find what they want to acquire in terms of companies and talent. Maybe true, but I think this reporting showed that they're definitely not thinking like that. They're thinking like, we fucking dropped the ball on this.
We don't want to be, you know, Microsoft with mobile.
Yeah.
You know, like that's kind of the conversation.
Yeah. Anyway, so that brings us to the WWDC presentation.
Let's go through it very quickly. Like, we're not going to do a blow by blow, but I will say it's funny that like it starts with Tim Cook, who, by the way, is obviously on the way out. There wasn't a lot about that until the very, very end.
Yep. It's his last thing. It's his last one.
It's his last WWDC. They were like, today we're going to talk about 3 big things. Performance improvements.
Yeah.
Trust and safety.
Yeah.
And bringing Apple Intelligence to price. But like off the bat, it's like we're going straight into performance improvements. Sorry, even before we get into this, WWDC was originally, and I know it ostensibly still is, it's the developer conference for people who make apps or develop for Mac. You know, like you make Mac apps or you make iPhone apps, basically, and iPad and the rest. But like that's who it's for. And it's, you know, originally it was kind of more about, and here's the latest API you have access to, and like here are these vague changes or whatever that you integrate into your apps. It's like not that anymore, hey?
No, they use it as, for a while it's been basically we give a time for consumers to see what's coming along.
Yeah, and I think like on site, like
there's heaps of like
on
sessions.
site, there's heaps of sessions and all of that developer relations stuff. But also nowadays, it's also like a 1 hour long video. We should like mention like
since COVID,
and I think that I know it's always weird. Like, and we mentioned it last year. It's like these videos are weird. It's even weirder, I feel like, this year. Have they always done the people presenting are walking towards the camera, like through the outside?
Yeah, I think the past couple, I think they've done that.
I got really weirded out by this one. And more so, and I've always, but maybe it's just every year it gets weirder and weirder, or maybe it's the same level of weirdness and I forget and then it happens. And like,
it's like this weirdly produced.
It's super weirdly produced. It kind of reminds me of like, kind of like a super high budget, like, you know, those cable stations that just sell ads the entire time?
Yeah.
Like it's a weird, I mean, it is like, look,
like a weird infomercial thing.
It is an infomercial. Like it effectively is. Like, let's be frank. That's what it is. But like, it gets more and more uncanny valley to me.
Yeah.
Which I guess will become a theme. Anyway,
the first part of it was performance improvements.
Performance improvements, great.
Which is literally, they just went through, number one, they kind of...
they mea culpa'd a little.
Yeah.
As much as Apple will ever mea culpa.
Yeah, they basically admitted a lot of you hated liquid glass, the redesign of the visual redesign where it was all like glassy bubbles and translucency and whatever. A lot of you hated that. We're walking back the stuff that you hated.
Well, you can turn it up and turn it down.
They basically were like, if you hate it, you can kind of get rid of all of it.
And so I installed the beta. No worries, everyone. You're welcome. And you can basically like slide a slider up to full means that there's no transparency on. So like the whole liquid glass thing was like kind of in the world of Vision Pro where everything's layered on top of each other, but you can kind of see through things to the layers behind it. You can turn it up so there's no transparency, basically, like you've got blocks on top of blocks, or you can turn it down so that it's still like not that transparent, which I did. I've gone full liquid glass, full transparent.
You support the designers wherever they take you. I respect that in a big way.
Thank you, mate.
You know, they've got a vision. Anyway, so there was that, but then they sort of just went through. So this came up in the reporting before when Apple announced Mac OS X Snow Leopard. Back in, I can't remember, it was late 2000s. I think it was like 2009 or something, 2008, 2009. They did their presentation at WWDC and they very famously had a slide where it was like 0 new features. And they were like, this is purely a stability release.
Yeah. We're
making it faster. We're making it nicer. We're not focusing on giving you cool, funky new stuff. We're just like making the operating system work better. And a lot of devs, especially, and like technical people fucking love Snow Leopard because it was a great release
don't get me wrong.
Stuff.
I love bug fixes and improvements.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's not. There's a reason why it's one dot point, you know, on the version release.
Yeah. They don't. It's also hard to get away from that now, where everyone expects whiz bang.
Yeah,
new shit, and it's like back when they did that, the Mac was very much like it was a hardware brand. It was like a computer.
Yeah.
Whereas now everything they do gets interpreted through the lens of like, what's the cool new thing that me as a consumer am going to be able to do on my phone that I couldn't do before?
Yeah, and as well as like signaling to the market, right?
Yeah. So basically they went through and said, we've re-architected all these bits of our operators to make apps launch quicker.
Which, to be fair, you're right. Like, that is actually great. That's probably going to be the best feature, is that if everything's snappier and faster.
Yeah.
And they're also like, and it's backward compatible to iPhone 11, which, I mean, again, all great, but it's also like I'm watching some presentation and it's like we're talking about backwards compatibility to like performance improvements, to liquid glass performance improvements.
Yeah.
Which is okay, great.
So the search is quicker, whatever. So that stuff's fine. I also think that my read on it was that like a lot of the things they were talking about, which is like we've re-architected Spotlight, which is the search function on Apple devices. We've made it like the CPU scheduler is now much quicker and more efficient. It feels like all of that was like we had to rebuild our operating system for all this AI shit that we're doing.
Yeah.
Like that was a big part of it. But also there's all these efficiency improvements or whatever. So great. The second one, trust and safety, I thought was like maybe the most interesting part of the show. They dedicated like 30 minutes of this presentation to talk about child safety features, which is like more sophisticated, like essentially surveillance stuff you can do to your kids. Like making sure that, you can control who they message. You have all these different avenues for them to like ask to take certain actions or look at certain websites or whatever. It went on for so long, and it was very clearly, and it's very funny. If you look at like the X responses or like the YouTube comments, everyone was like, this is so fucking boring. Why are you spending 30 minutes talking about child safety at a developer conference? And it was so clearly them being like, I know that Australia and others are banning kids from social media. Don't worry about us.
Yeah.
We're good.
The X response reminds me, I mentioned a couple of weeks ago, like my jellyfish thing at Google I/O.
Yeah.
One of the comments I noticed on it was, no one give AF about jellyfish, N-word. Just tell me about the new Android.
That was the vibe. No one care about keeping kids safe. I won't use the slur. Yeah.
But also, on-device penis filter?
Yeah, there was a one of the things that they talked about at length was if you're on like a child-controlled account and someone tries to send you a nude, or you try to send a nude, it gets blurred out automatically. So the machine learning on device blurs it out and then it asks you, are you sure you want to receive this image or send this image? There's someone whose dream was to start. They had an iBook back in the day.
Yeah, they got Steve Jobs poster on the wall.
They have a Steve Jobs poster. It's my dream to work at Apple. And they got the job, and their job was like, sorry, mate, you are going to the machine learning penis department. Your job is to do cutting-edge research in finding out what a penis looks like across billions of images.
On the edge.
On the edge. And also, they also used the example, and they used the word, they were like, if someone tries to send your kid gore, I was like sending photos of like mutilated corpses or whatever.
Yeah.
Again, this was like a big part of an Apple presentation.
Yeah.
It was like if someone tries to show your child gore images, immediate censor and stops it. Again, it all comes down to like Apple being like, this is the latest regulatory wave, and we want to make sure that everyone knows that we're with you. We're with the governments trying to do this, and we're not part of the problem.
I wonder, like, there is this broader conversation that is AI stuff works better when AI models in the cloud have complete access to all of your shit, basically.
Yeah.
That Apple's entire Tim Cook era has been privacy.
Privacy is part of it.
We can't see anything, no access to anything. Anytime there is ML, it's happening on device or now in private cloud or whatever it is. Like the opposite, the antithesis of this. Like, I wonder if there is kind of like, there will be this kind of dichotomy between fully open versus like fully closed, and the trade-off between, how good your models and your features and stuff are, but for the cost of like, child safety and like safety in general and privacy, blah, blah, blah. But the other thing that, though, there was the throwaway line.
Yeah. There was. So the other part is that they were basically. So first of all, they said, we think that all devices during school hours should only be for education. And they didn't say anything else, but their vibe was like, we support like phone bans in schools. Was basically, again, another regulatory issue. They basically said, and the whole point, they then tied it into like the scheduling tool to allow when your kids are allowed to use their Apple devices through the parental controls. But then they went through there, and there was just the one line where like their head of safety or whatever, she goes, the American Pediatric Society suggests that no child under 14 should use social media, and then just moves on.
Literally just drive by?
Literally just drive by on their biggest enemy Meta. They like, it's literally science that no one should use your products. Children should not be. Bang, 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 bang. It's like them saying to regulators, like, if you want us to just ban Instagram,
like, we'll do it.
Just don't have it on the App Store. we will press that big red button. Just fucking do it. Like, you know.
No, but it's a big, like, government, we're on your side with this one. This social shit is fucked.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. If we could get rid of it all tomorrow, we would do it. Like, you know, exactly. If you want to get rid of iTunes ping,
we'll take that L.
Exactly, yeah.
Oh, and by the way, notice that Spotify has chat right now. We'll get rid of that too. Too dangerous.
God, whatever. No problem. I mean, obviously, this is high value stuff, and parents do like having granular controls.
Yeah.
So I get that. But it's also like to make it a full third, essentially, of your developer presentation.
Yeah.
I think, there was regulatory signaling, and again, just continuing their privacy focus, which obviously became a part of the AI conversation as well.
Yeah, but I don't know. I think there is a broader like family ecosystem play here. Like as we've said, the kind of dream for these platforms for years is like, you have the Apple HomePod screen that wasn't announced, that people were thinking might be announced, like the HomePod Touch on the screen and the doorbell, and your kids have got the watches and the laptops and the phones, and you can be sure that it's safe. Like don't have a few Androids here and a few iPhones there or whatever, like keep it locked in.
Yeah. I think that's part of it.
But you're right that like a huge section of a developer conference.
Yeah, they're signaling where the guys did this. And it did actually fold straight into Craig Federici, who's like their VP of software. Basically, because the next section is AI, which we'll talk about now, but he signposted it by saying, like the first thing he said, for an AI to be good, it has to be aware of all your stuff. It's got to be like context aware and have access to your things. And if for that to happen, it needs to be unbelievably safe and private. Like he said that before he said anything else, and it went straight on from the privacy and safety stuff. So again, I think they've just got their ear to the ground of if we want to be the AI consumer company at a time when everyone's worried about it for various reasons, we have to go hard on it helps you. None of that crazy bad stuff that you hear about AI in the media, that's got nothing to do with us. We're just making the stuff that you already do on your phone better.
Yeah.
And it's not scary, it's not weird, and all your stuff's private. He specifically called out, without calling out names, a lot of these commercially available AI software AI platforms, you don't know what they do with your prompts once they go out into the cloud, but you know with us.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I mean, that angle, I've always I think that people have shown what their like revealed preference is, which is everyone kind of like, if you're asked, would you like to, preserve your privacy online or whatever, people would say, oh yeah, absolutely.
I love that, yeah.
And then in the meantime, just like give Facebook all of their data or whatever it is, like that, like if something's more convenient. So like, I just wonder the privacy angle, people who are listening, you, dear listener, you might be in your car again on a bit of a road trip listening to this. Maybe it's in the backlog. Maybe you're hearing this in a few weeks' time. You've gone back through the backlog. You, dear listener, may be like, this is a real number one selling point for me. For me, it's delightfulness, and number two is privacy and security. But for, the middle Australia, for example, middle America, middle Europe, which I don't know,
middle
are
Europe?
we in the Balk? Like, where are we?
Germany?
Like Bosnia and Herzegovina? I guess you're getting over to Asia over there.
Czech Republic? Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Anyway, is it important? Is it as important? Color me skeptical. I think people in the end of the day are just like, it's me, it's Studio Ghibli.
Yeah, that you're probably right. There is a bit of that.
But regardless, I get the vibe. And also, like, from an engineering feat, it does seem like Apple Private Cloud is like incredibly impressive to pull off.
Yeah. I think you're right that there's no one holding out on using these sorts of features because they're really worried about privacy, or it's like a pretty small population. And if you are really opposed to using AI features for other reasons, which have been well documented on this podcast, I don't think that's going to be the thing to push you over the edge and be like, at least it's private. Like, your problems are deeper than that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's that. But yes,
AI,
Apple Intelligence, as it has always stood for. This part of the show was really funny because clearly they're all psychologically scarred from the fact that 2 years ago they essentially told a series of lies.
Yes. No, but I mean, like, deeply embarrassing. Like, the demos they showed in the video, they still can't do.
They 2 years later, they're only just now, after a massive like organizational reset, have been able to achieve.
Well, even then, it's like I feel like what they promised 2 years ago, they're not promising now.
It is more reserved. It's definitely, So as a result, even though it was like this pre-recorded presentation, as I said, like they don't do live stuff on stage anymore.
I'm sorry, I'm going to go back to that. That sucks. Like there is something exciting and real about people doing live demos.
Yeah.
And like being up there on stage with friggin' 2 laptops and a phone and like the camera's switching and you're like, as an audience member, you're like, is this going to fuck up? It feels more real. It feels like, oh, there's a point to me watching this live. I guess that's what it is. It's like, you know, you sit down and watch WWDC live or whatever. It's like, why am I watching this live?
I don't think anyone says anymore that like Apple keynotes are the best.
No, absolutely not.
But like, I mean, this was going back some time now, but like during the Steve Jobs era or whatever, that's what people talked about, and he was a showman and whatever.
Well, yeah, Steve Jobs could sell it. Like he was I think he deeply cared and deeply was across like the features and he deeply cared probably to a fault to the point where like he would have been punished as a boss, evidently.
Yeah. Deeply cared to the point that he died.
Deeply cared
from trying to treat cancer with oranges.
That's how much he cared about design. But like, there aren't that many CEOs. I'd say the only one really is Jensen, I think. Like, Jensen feels like excited and like genuinely across it, like talks off the cuff. No one's really talking off the cuff that much. I guess Elon does,
but like
he's weird.
I mean, every time
Jensen is actually like charismatic.
Yeah, totally. He's like, but he's held back by the fact that the stuff that Jensen
talks about
is boring. Like, there's nothing interesting about a new. I mean, it's interesting to a certain kind of person.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, this would be sick.
It's not consumer. It's not aimed at consumer. He's talking about flops and shit.
It's exactly. He's like selling a new piece of silicone. There's nothing sexy about that. And you're right, Elon. Like, he does still do the live stuff for Tesla and like XAI and whatever, but fuck, man. You watch him do like an XA live, and it's like him sitting on a couch with 4 of the weirdest dudes you've ever seen.
Yeah.
And none of them can talk.
And him kind of like stammering through like a K'd-up sentence.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing that attracts you to like an Elon presentation, he's going to make like a crazy promise. That's definitely not true. Like, we were like, we will have a Mars base by 2028.
Yeah.
And people were like, what the hell? How did he promise that? How could they do that?
No, totally. Whereas I think everyone else has been kind of too professionalized to be really...
I mean, the Apple presentations going to these pre-records was a COVID thing.
Yeah.
And clearly they were all like, this is better. Nothing goes wrong. We can add in some like visual gags. We can do whatever.
Yeah, it serves the purpose. Everyone's going to report on it anyway, like we are now.
Yeah, totally. So we don't have to do the live thing and then worry about
Wi-Fi going down because there's 2,000 people in the audience. And
exactly, which happened all the time. And like they're always, like pretty frequently, like almost every single WWDC, they would have something go wrong in one of the presentations. That doesn't happen anymore. But getting back to what I was saying, even though it was not live and was pre-recorded and pre-edited and done whatever, everything was done in real time. So while they were doing the Siri demos, like they would sit there and wait for it to like realistically show how long it takes for these inquiries to go through the processing or whatever. And clearly it was just because they were like, from the top, no promises.
Yeah.
This needs to be as if it's live.
Yeah.
Cannot show the phone doing something that it can't do.
Yeah.
We've spent the last 2 years eating shit because we did that. We freaked out and did that. So anyway, they focused a lot on the new Siri, as you said, powered by... Well, this is where it gets weird.
This is where it gets weird. This is where it's weird. We've rebuilt our foundation model from the ground up with Google.
Yes.
And that's kind of... Obviously, again, bit of backstory, like everyone knows, they did a big deal with Google. They're paying Google $1 billion a year to use Gemini on the phone, was kind of what was previously reported.
Yeah.
So the framing of this in WWDC is we've rebuilt our foundational model from the ground up with Google.
They didn't say we're using Gemini. And we know that they, to some extent, are.
Yes.
Because there was all this...
Well, Google doesn't... Like, they didn't do a whole new model.
Yeah.
But, I mean, well, this is the other thing with models, though, is like, when is it a new model? When is it not? Because there are so many steps to like a model. Like you have, pre-training, you have this huge corpus of data that you're allowing the training run to kind of build connections between. Then you have the reinforcement learning. Then you got fine tuning and RLHF. Like you have all of these different kind of stages, when do you get to say it's a new model?
Yeah.
Because I would assume they haven't done that very first stage, like the training run. I would assume that's just based on Gemini.
Yeah. You would think so. I mean, like, is it
They're not getting a full new data, like training data set.
But then they also talk about they've introduced Apple's own walled knowledge, which suggests some sort of training base based on Apple stuff.
Well, I think that was the RAG. I think that's the lookup, right? They're saying...
Yeah, I guess it could be. Craig Federici, again, the head of software, he came out and said it's not using Google Search and it's not connecting to like Google Assistant or any of that.
It's not just like pinging the Gemini API.
It's not pinging the Gemini API. It is like, and they're calling it the Apple Foundation model, AFM.
Basically, from then on, they referred to it as Apple Intelligence. And like, as I said, like it seems like the Google references, we built this thing with Google. From now on, the thing that we're going to, I didn't say this, but it's like, and that is the new Apple Intelligence. And then they just referred to it as Apple Intelligence.
Yeah.
But Apple Intelligence referred to a plethora of things, from image editing to on-device voice to like on-device models to chat with Siri, which is like LLM, as we'll probably talk about, whatever. Or that's probably enough. It's very unclear, and I think intentionally so.
Yeah.
Like, what's the Google? Like, this isn't just like we've plugged Gemini into Siri.
Yeah, it's definitely not just that like Siri pings Gemini. It's like they've done some magic on it. They've introduced some of the stuff they do. I mean, there is now like a model that runs on the iPhone, like the latest version of the Apple Foundation model, AFM, they call it, which is like a cool bit of engineering where it's a 20 billion parameter model. And if you're wondering what the fuck that means, don't worry about it. But it's a large, powerful LLM to run on a phone. But you would think that the Google model was somehow involved in this. Apple, like Google has its own small models, Gemma, not Gemini, Gemma. It's like
Gemma 4 just released, very, very good.
Yeah,
but they don't have a 20 billion parameter model.
Yeah,
they've got a 26 and like a 32, and very, very good model. Like on everyone's raving about it on device. Wow, Edge AI, Edge LLMs, super efficient, but none of that kind of quite fits this.
No, so they're obviously.
But is it like? So this is like an Apple version of Gemma, or is it fully Apple? Because they've been doing their own on-device stuff for a while. That's not clear.
Yeah, it's not. Maybe this does throw back a bit to like, because I know there was tons of reporting that Apple did these big, tender sort of things where they were deciding between Google and Anthropic as their partner to do this stuff. Maybe this was part of it.
Honestly, I keep saying this. I'm like, I know that like there was like, Apple, and they actually liked, Anthropic's model better, but in the end they just decided that like Google would be a better partner. Again, I'm sorry. Like edge compute, Google.
Yeah.
Image editing, Anthropic doesn't do at all.
Yeah.
And I think most importantly, as I've said on Darren a million times before, you're about to put this on like 1.5 billion people's phones. You want to be sure that your LLM provider can actually support that.
Yeah.
Like that level of compute, or have some experience on the compute side of things. Like there's no world where you can go to Anthropic.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Especially like a year and a half ago, whenever it was, when like they were just struggling to keep up with any demand.
Yeah,
like,
totally.
This is what Google does, infrastructure.
And also Apple's not going to put a leading edge coding model on the iPhone, which is what. But yeah, so I think this is a part of it. But the point is that it's not really clear where Google ends and Apple begins.
Yeah.
There's obviously a bit of
intentionally so.
I think so. I think because it comes down to the fact that Apple doesn't want to be in a position where they say we are like our key man risk is that our entire AI strategy hangs off Google.
Yeah, or Siri powered by Gemini. It's like, why don't I just use Gemini?
Yeah, why don't I just buy an Android or whatever?
Yeah,
they're clearly introducing their own special sauce.
As well as clearly, exactly. They clearly are doing stuff that customizes it for, which makes sense. We could go through some of the features. I don't think they're that interesting. They're what you'd imagine. Some image editing stuff. You can chat back and forth with Siri, which people were wondering, like, because I think 2 years ago Apple specifically said that the chat interface is not a good interface for.
No, but now they've introduced one. They have a chat app.
They have a chat app.
Like
now.
you can open
Siri is chat.
You can open up the Siri chat app, and
that's what comes up when I like double click my Siri button. The long hold on the. I don't even know what any of the buttons are called nowadays. The action button for me right now, which a long hold used to be Siri voice. Now it's typed to Siri.
Yeah.
And it's like a conversation. Because, I'm on the beta or whatever. Yeah, so like the thing that they said, like, that's not the correct interface and that interface is going to evolve, they're now doing. No, they kind of had to acquiesce to that, fair enough. Whatever, and a bunch of other shit. Like, as in kind of things you'd imagine. Context aware, you can ask it about the thing that's happening on your Mac or on your phone that you can kind of do in Chrome, and you can it's stuff that you kind of could already do. But it is good that it's kind of refined and like they have specific products. Here are all the different technologies you could do with AI. It now all works on all of the Mac apps and on your phone in a very obvious and streamlined way.
Yeah, totally. And it can pull out your personal context and all that sort of stuff. Obviously, as we talked about, OpenAI and Anthropic have decided, okay, the money's not in consumer. We're going straight after enterprise, coding, all the rest of it. Even though OpenAI still have the specter of like that Johnny Ive device consumer stuff hanging over them.
Yeah.
But I feel like this is one of those things, and I think evidence that OpenAI feel a bit threatened by this is the fact that they announced that they had confidentially filed for their IPO like within an hour of WWDC finishing.
Yeah.
So they're obviously like a bit worried that all their whatever part of their business they're dreaming about becoming a big consumer brand is threatened by the fact that Apple, which already has a billion fucking devices out there, says and heaps of information goes, yeah, we're going to help people leverage the information they have with us into like a consumer product.
Yeah.
Because OpenAI, even though, yes, they have your chats where you've asked, what is this fucking rash on my penis?
Yeah.
In the incognito window. Like, you know, it's still kind of a cold start into a full life assistant.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I will say, long running down around thesis is that it's very hard to articulate any sort of like consumer AI workflow that makes sense at all. They did a bunch of them, but two of them I want to highlight because they were really funny. The first one is the guy, was one of their AI people, said, my son loves 3D printing. And he was like, and his school has a 3D printer. Automatically, you're like, what the fuck are you talking about? His school has a 3D printer? Obviously, you know, a nice Bay Area private school, I would imagine. He was like, so I spoke to Siri AI to figure out how can I help his school build a dedicated space for the 3D printer. And I was like, automatically, no one has ever done that.
No.
Why do you have that relationship with your child's school where you're just building infrastructure for them?
Exactly. Or like not being just like shooed away as a crank when you're like, I came up with a plan for you to build a 3D printer shed.
Using Apple Intelligence, a shed for the printer. And it was bouncing off like research online and looking at pictures of the space and all the rest of it, which like made sense abstractly, but I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? Can anyone compare that process to anything they do in their life?
Yeah, but okay. In defense of build 3D printer house in school, which is insane, there is this thing with AI where it's like, what it's really good at that, you know, Google search and forums weren't is like a niche thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, here is my specific circumstance that I'd otherwise be trawling page 98 of the Whirlpool forums to try and work out or whatever.
Well, heaven forbid speaking to someone. Yeah.
But even then, it's like, that someone are probably going to be like, ooh, you know, oh, I've never seen this before, whatever. But yes.
I do think that like that was part of it. It was like, it's a really specific thing, and you can get actionable information based on some images and shit.
Yeah,
I get that.
Despite the fact it's super like niche or whatever.
And the other one, which was like, because the other thing is that the on-device models and the ones that they do in their secure cloud are fully multimodal, so you can send images and all the rest of it. It was like, where was this photo taken? And it was a photo of a beach. And then Siri came back and said...
Well, interestingly, though, it was a photo of a beach. It looked like the Instagram UI.
Yeah.
Like it was on device. They didn't mention it.
Yeah, they didn't mention it was... Yeah, totally.
But it was like, there was Instagram UI, which I was like, that would have been debated heavily.
Yeah. I think maybe it was because you can ask Siri about stuff that you're looking on your screen right now.
Exactly.
I assume it was that.
Yeah.
It was like, where is this beach?
And because it wanted to show it wasn't like in the Photos app. Like it wanted to show context.
Yeah, exactly.
And like, as in like, this is actually how people will be using it. But they obviously weren't like, you might be scrolling through Instagram by Meta or whatever.
No, yeah.
But like I believe it, like it was like the Instagram UI.
Yeah.
But yeah, there would have been a furious back and forth about that.
I'm sure. Yeah.
Can't it just be an iMessage?
Yeah.
You know.
I think, yeah, exactly. And he was like, all right, where is this photo taken? Siri AI comes back and says it was taken at this particular beach in the fucking Bay Area of Northern California. And then the guy was like, that's where it is. My friend Brett or whatever, I'm pretty sure he moved somewhere near there recently. He sent me the address, but I can't remember where he sent it. Well, hey, where does Brett live? And then it came back and was like, oh, Brett sent you the address in a fucking message 18 months ago. This is where his address is. And he was like, cool, plan a trip to the beach with a stop over at Brett's house so I can say hello. Again, crazy.
Just pop in.
Hey, I'm going
knock, knock.
I'm going to
Brett, it's me. I'm here.
I'm going to a beach that I saw on Instagram. And I decided to stop by. Again, so this, I would say this is marginally better than the planning a holiday
Planning a family holiday to Paris. Yeah.
Obviously, they would have thought about this in excruciating detail, and I agree with you. Like, they were thinking about weird multi-step processes that include some context and also include...
But it once again proves, like, long time down around thesis, that it's really hard to think of one.
Yeah, exactly.
It's really hard to think of one. So you have to come up with, I saw a beach on Instagram that I wanted to drive to, and it triggered me to pop over to a mate's house.
I think it's because, like, any multi-step process... Because the funny thing is, like, I do get it. Like, some of that I can imagine
It'll
doing.
come up. It'll come up. It's like this... I use... So, you know, the context aware in Chrome, not a feature I use a lot, but I did use it the other day, because there was a situation that came up where I was like, and I was like, hold on, I'll use that. And it just worked. It was like perfect. I was like, you know, it was like images of expenses or something that I was like,
yeah, right.
Oh, how the hell do I do this? So I need to, like, you know, I can't highlight the text. Like, it's a real pain in the ass thing to do. And I was like, oh, sweet. Chrome's like aware of it all, and it just did it. But like, you know, it's so niche.
Yeah.
That like, so it is hard, but also they got to come up with something.
They got to come up with something. Every multi-step process I can imagine doing with this, and we've talked about this a million times, I could definitely see myself being like, oh, fuck, someone sent me this message ages ago, which had a bit of information in it. I could go digging through it. And
that shit is great. Like,
yeah.
Find me, like, when my brother gave me his KO password or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Like, you know, that stuff, excellent.
I would do that immediately. But when you start getting into, like, multi-step, there's stuff that I do. You know, I'll take a screenshot of something and I'll drop it into ChatGPT and whatever.
Yeah.
What's this? You know, how do I build something that looks like this? I mean, that's probably a bad example because I wouldn't use Siri for coding questions. But, you know, there's lots of, like, little touch points where I'll do things like that. So I get why they have to figure it out. And I'm sure I probably will. I can see myself doing this far more than I can see myself doing, like, the ChatGPT integration into iOS like back in the day. But anyway, so that's basically how that goes.
There's a couple of things I wanted to note before we move on.
Yep.
So, okay, call context seems cool. Like, you get a call from your, like, electricity provider and it'll, like, bring up your
account that was
number and
sick.
stuff. If that works, that's great. But so the calendar app, the features that they put in, this is a feature that every other calendar app has that pisses me off. That it's like, instead of writing in my calendar app, lunch with James, so say it's like, because like I use a bunch of different calendars, my family calendar, like, you know, a bunch of different business partners, for example, we have our own calendars. I got my work calendar, I got my personal business calendar, blah, blah, blah. Calendar apps, it's like, they were saying as a feature, I can say, go to lunch with my mum at 1 p.m. at whatever, Bar Copain. And it's like, it will then automatically set it for 1 p.m., invite your mum, and put the location in. And it pisses me off when calendar apps do that, because I'm like, don't fucking don't add my mum as an attendee.
Yeah, I just want it listed.
And like, yeah, I just want it to say, like, lunch with James. You know, I don't want it to fucking tag James and, like, put you in.
I agree, yeah. I'm always filling in stuff that's, like, technically a multi-person meeting, quote unquote, but I'm just doing it for my own record.
Yeah, exactly. And then it's really hard, especially on a phone, to be like, no, like, don't tag him.
Especially personal stuff. I never invite people to any calendar event for personal things.
No, it's such a deliberate move to invite someone to something. And also, it fucks up all the time when you say, like, I've in the past been like, you know, at like 12 William or whatever, but it's like at 12 o'clock. Okay, cool. You know, it'll fuck things up all the time. I don't need to use natural language to put my calendar things
No,
in.
mate,
Like,
I've got that down pat.
We've
yeah.
solved it where it's like you choose the time, you choose the location, you choose the people, the attendees. Like there's a reason why it's multimodal. Like as in there's multiple steps for that.
And it can be annoying, but that's like this kind of works, and it does like foreclose on annoying edge cases.
Yeah, and so they were like advertising this as a feature. I'm like, no, I don't want that. I hate it when my calendar apps, because all of the other ones do it already. The title is the title. It's not an omnibar. You know?
Yeah.
That pisses me off.
That was funny. The other one that I thought was really funny, I think it was like the last thing they mentioned. They were like, we're going to talk about home stuff you can do. But the one thing they focused on was cameras, because you can set up all your home cameras through Apple Home.
Yeah.
But what it does now is it like automatically tags everything that happens on your cameras, and then like gives it to you in like an Apple Photos style digest, where it's like when things happened on on your cameras, your phone automatically through the Apple Home app detects stuff and like makes a narrative out of it.
Nice.
From like if someone appears on one camera and then walks and appears on the next one, it stitches it together into like a story using like Apple's multimodal AI. And they were doing this really cheery, sunny way of being like, oh, like someone left you a package. I'm like, no, this is like stitching together evidence of crime across your multiple. And you're doing this like bright way where it's like, oh, someone came over to drop off a package and they appeared on 5 different cameras. I was like, that's so fucking weird.
Yeah. But people are obsessed with their cameras and stuff like that. I have one camera.
America brain.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not, surrounding the property. I know I shouldn't say that because I was talking about the expensive tech devices I have, but like,
you hear that, folks? You will meet no resistance.
Look, the other thing I wanted to point out was like, so in the photo editing app, I think the quote was like, we have deep respect for photography or whatever, and like the photo, we have deep respect for the photo.
Yeah,
because they're talking about all this like image editing with ML, but like they had deep respect for what is photo, which I was criticized for at the time by you for saying we should do an episode about what is a photo.
Yeah, this was years ago, but yes. Yes, this was back when...
once again vindicated.
This was back... I'm pretty sure it was the time that Samsung released a thing where it was like, you're never going to get a good photo of the moon.
So we're just going to AI the moon.
We're just going to make up what the moon looked like.
Yeah, in that photo.
And looking back at those photos, it's like a crazy, like...
The moon was bussin'. We said that was the terminology of the era.
It was like this crazy, super exaggerated, like DALL-E 2 fucking moon that was all...
with craters, like crisp craters.
Yeah, exactly. Crisp craters like that are like a quarter the size of the whole thing. And we were like, yeah, what is a photo? Like, what is the purpose of taking a photo?
Well, yeah, but also, like, what is the difference between, you take a photo... Nowadays, anyway, whatever, it's taking it on 3 different cameras and stitching it together and changing the light and like, a photo originally was light hitting film, but that obviously like has its limitations because how much light do you let in, because some things are exposed, some things aren't exposed. That's not reality anyway.
Yep.
Like lighting in a film isn't reality because of the trade-offs of like the nature of that. So,
signs and symbols, folks.
Exactly. All it comes down to is that like anything that's produced is just symbolic. Like there is no such thing as a real photo. I think that was our outcome back then.
We have no access to the real, folks.
No. But Apple is claiming to be holding on to the real because they have deep respect for photo.
Yeah, they're not going to just let you put a fucking... We want to stick close to like the original reality of the image. You're right. We have deep respect for it. So it's like they've given you a tool set to like do content-aware fill to expand the frame.
Yeah. Delete, people or whatever, which they already did, but they said it's better now. You
can remove items.
Yeah.
Automatically, I think you're
disrespecting the photo. Disrespecting photo.
There was people that
were... The real is being disrespected.
You're pretending that people that were present weren't present. All of a sudden, you're into the weird world of narrative symbology. And then the other one is that it uses, because all the iPhones now take spatial images for... I mean, technically to look at on the Vision Pro, not the people that are doing that. But they do record, a weird, like, slice of 3D space. You can essentially, using that information, plus the generative image model they've got in there, to, like, subtly rotate the image to frame it better. You can frame it, you can go up a bit, down a bit, left and right. And then once you agree with, like, the new framing, it fills in the rest of the image.
Mm.
So it's basically like you can, within like a certain number of like degrees, you can essentially reframe your entire image.
Yeah.
Which I think is cool.
Oh yeah, it's a cool feature, but it's funny that they're again taking the Apple angle of like we have deep respect. He said deep respect. Like we're keeping it real here.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
This isn't AI slop. We're not just like slopifying the photo. It's still real. Just with all of this AI. It's an AI photo, but real.
Yeah.
You know? Because it's the Apple intelligence way.
Totally. And it all comes down to the fact that it's like Apple has this long tradition or like heritage of being like the creative's choice, which was like before the iPod, before they became like a massive global consumer brand. They were like the default choice of computer for creatives who were doing video and photo and music and all the rest of it. They've been in that forever. And so they still, even though they've kind of left that behind a bit, they still need to be like, we know that photographers who probably hate this shit use MacBooks and use Apple software probably and use like whatever.
Yeah.
We just need to make sure that like, even though we're doing funky, crazy, generative image stuff, we're not going too wild.
Not like the other guys. Yeah, we're not like them. They not like us, dare I say. Which, like, I think brings me to a last point. I mean, yeah, it's a positioning thing. But it brings me to the last point. Like, I will say, like, a bunch of these features, they all look good.
Sure. And early response from people who've been testing it, we didn't do it that much. You only just installed it before we recorded. It seems to be positive, at least in the sense where it's like, it seems to do everything they say it did, which is a bit big. But like, they were like, but I also saw like the general response was kind of like, it's even better than what they were describing. They were obviously being very conservative with it, but it can actually handle some pretty interesting like consumer workflows.
Yeah, but this is also what we've kind of been saying is like AI as a feature, I think is going to proliferate regardless. As in like, you know, people talk about like, and we're going to do an episode about like good AI versus bad AI, where it's like, if AI is incorporated like subtly as a useful feature that I like, then it's good. If AI is forced on you and is this like really specific action, then it's bad. Like they're doing, like this is all good stuff. It's good new features. I can use the phone. The phone is better to use. And I think there is like a broader kind of thing here, especially with their collaboration with Google, where like, is there this world where it's like largely agreed upon? Google is very good at like foundational research. They're very good at like, building these amazingly powerful, efficient machines, you know, software, whatever it is, at scale for everyone. And, you know, there's like, Google always kind of appears like, you know, around the 3-ish on the like frontier, most powerful LLM, whatever it is, but, you know, are playing a bunch of different games at once.
Yep.
And, you know, the criticism of Google I.O. is like, it's kind of unfocused, you know, it's like, you know, I got Google Gemini Spark is like my own personal agent, but then also I've got kind of Google Gemini for enterprise and Google AI Studio, and like people were like, what's happening here? Like it appears like, which is probably the case, Google have like fucking 100,000 insanely intelligent people just running hard at their own personal interest, and they're making amazing things, but there's like a lack of focus when it comes to the product side of things.
Which has often been the Google thing.
It's always been the Google thing. It's like they're doing heaps of amazing things at once, and some of them work, some of them don't, and you know, it's just a lot of smart people like pursuing their interest, with like a lack of focus at the like top line, but it still ends up in the second biggest company in the world, etc. Whereas Apple have this like dedication to minimalism. I know they're like, you know, the product line is always, the SKUs are expanding at all times with Apple, but still it's like pretty hyper focused to like user interface and like specific features and specific products. And now if we are having kind of the two together, where you have like the Google research arm, obviously Google have Android and like competing products and like all their own services and everything. So like I'm fully oversimplifying here, but like, you know, Google research and all that kind of stuff, and the Google, like the power of that through the Apple design lens on the iPhone, that could be quite powerful. Except that obviously, in some ways, you could argue you also have the worst of both worlds. You know?
Yeah. No, I agree. I'm interested to see what happens with this stuff, because as I said, the previous, I mean, has anyone opened Apple's image playground? Like, I would love to know how many people are opening that daily.
Oh yeah, I mean it's kids only. And even then, they're not opening it daily. And by kids, I mean like grown-ups who don't let their kids use screens, giving their child their phone when they really need them to be quiet for like 20 minutes at the pub or whatever it is. They're like, just play around with this.
It could be less than 1,000 daily active users across.
Well,
like
they've made it better though. You can now do realistic pictures in image playground.
Now they've added like more.
Just what is the point of that app?
More up to date. Yeah, I mean, it'd be interesting to see whether Siri returns as. And is used more widely than just like set alarms as is kind of his main use case.
Yeah.
Or like send messages.
If
like
you get
driving.
used to being able to actually say like, what are the top 3 coastlines, in the world or whatever, and it will actually give you an answer, which it was starting to do. This is the thing, like I had it integrated with the OpenAI, which I do too. And I feel like there was like, it was starting to kind of do it, be like, here is an answer from ChatGPT, but then it would still sometimes to be like, you can't do that. Well, I usually use it when I'm driving the car.
Yeah.
So quite a lot, it would say, I can't tell you that while you're driving, which is like, well, this is the only time I use this feature.
So I'm not going to be asking again. So
No, exactly. Like I wouldn't be using Siri if I wasn't driving. Anyway, whatever.
That's great. You can't tell me what the longest coastline in the world is just because I'm driving a car at 90 kilometers an hour. That's crazy.
Anyway, see what happens. Look, features look good. I mean, the annoying thing is I've downloaded the beta, but then you have to sign up for the beta Siri as well.
Yeah,
I don't know if I'm on a waiting list.
I will sign up. It is
Siri?
interesting that they said, and this comes back to what we were talking about over the past few weeks with like all of a sudden AI usage and compute restrictions and all the rest of it being like massive for everybody. Token-based billing, all these companies receiving massive bills and blowing through their allotment for agentic coding and shit like that. It is interesting that Apple are now saying, completely reasonably, you have a limited number of image edits you can do per day.
Yeah.
Like you cannot do more than, I don't know what the actual cap is, but like you can hit a limit and have your phone say to you, you can't do any more of these edits on your phone.
Yeah.
And
welcome to services.
Yeah.
Welcome to being a services business, Apple, and welcome to the token-based economy.
It's the token economy.
Jensen was right, mate.
There's something so funny about like just hitting a limit on the number of times you can use I don't think that's ever happened. I'm not sure if there's ever been a time that Apple has said for like an average consumer use that everyday Apple iPhone users use, for them to be like,
storage is the only one.
But
that's
storage,
different. We're used to that.
We've had the logic of that embedded since people first started using computers. But yeah, it's the fact of like you can only take this action X number of times per day, and now they're integrating it into your like Apple One or iCloud subscription. You get more image edits per day. Whatever. Just shows no one can escape.
No.
The fucking
tokenomics.
The tokenomics. Except different from last time we were talking about tokenomics, where it was like fucking
losers thinking they were economists talking about like fucking a Ponzi scheme.
A Ponzi scheme, yeah, exactly. Cartoon monkeys. Folks, we're past that. There is a bit of Bitcoin stuff about, but no, we can't talk about that now.
Yeah, Sailor. We'll save it for another week.
Save it for another week. Maybe next week we'll talk about that. But anyway,
other side of the paywall.
Other side of the paywall for our Down Around Premium subscribers. We're going to be talking about the YouTube to cinema pipeline and what's going on there. And then maybe a few other little bits and pieces. There's other stuff going on. If you are not a Down Around Premium subscriber, you should be. Head to downaround.net, subscribe to Down Around Premium, an extra episode every single week at low cost. You'd be laughing. Sorry. You'd be foolish to not do that.
Yeah, you'd be laughing once you did it.
Once you did it, you'd be laughing out of joy.
At people who weren't paying it.
Exactly. And also maybe because there's funny jokes on the podcast. So you could be laughing for multiple reasons.
Nailed it.